Imagine this. You're sitting in a quiet classroom. The afternoon sun is pouring through the windows. The wooden desks are old and scratched from years of students carving their initials into them. Outside, birds chirp and the wind gently moves through tall grass. It's peaceful, normal. The teacher writes slowly on the chalkboard. History examination, next week. The room is silent. Then suddenly, a girl in the back of the classroom begins to laugh. At first, it's just a small giggle, the kind students make when they're trying to hold back laughter. Some students glance back at her. The teacher pauses and turns around. Is something funny? The girl tries to stop, but the giggle grows. Soon she's laughing harder. Her shoulders shake. Her face turns red. Tears roll down her cheeks. The teacher walks toward her desk. Enough. Control yourself. But she can't. Her laughter becomes louder, stranger, almost painful. And then another girl starts laughing. Then another. Within seconds, the classroom explodes into uncontrollable laughter. Students fall out of their chairs. Some clutch their stomachs. Some gasp for breath. Some cry while laughing hysterically. The teacher begins to panic. Because something is very wrong. No one can stop. Not even the girl who started it. What began as a small giggle has just triggered one of the strangest epidemics in human history. Welcome to the terrifying true story of the laughing epidemic of Tanganyika. Before we continue, if you enjoy dark, mysterious stories like this one, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who loves disturbing true events, and subscribe to the channel for more terrifying mysteries from around the world. Now let's go back to the beginning, because this story didn't happen in a laboratory or a hospital. It began in a small school in the middle of Africa. The year was 1962. The place was a small village called Kashasha, located near Lake Victoria in what was then known as Tanganyika, today called Tanzania. The village was peaceful. Life was simple. Most people worked in fields or fished on the lake. Children attended a small missionary boarding school called Kashasha Girls' School. It was a strict school. Discipline was important. Students followed rules carefully. Morning prayers, long classes, heavy expectations. No one could have imagined that this quiet school would soon become the center of one of the most bizarre psychological events ever recorded. Everything changed on January 30th, 1962, the day the laughter began. 3 girls started laughing. At first, the teachers ignored it. Students sometimes laugh, especially teenagers, but this wasn't normal laughter. The girls couldn't stop. Minutes passed, then an hour. Their laughter grew louder and more intense. Soon, they were gasping for air. Their stomach muscles cramped. Their eyes watered uncontrollably. Teachers tried to discipline them. Stop this immediately. But the girls were no longer in control. And then something even more disturbing happened. Other students began laughing too, one after another, like dominoes falling. Soon dozens of girls were laughing uncontrollably. The classroom became chaos. Some students screamed while laughing. Others cried. Some collapsed onto the floor, and no one could explain why. Teachers rushed the students outside, hoping fresh air would calm them. But the laughter continued for hours, then days. Some girls laughed for nearly 16 days straight. Imagine laughing so hard for so long that your body simply stops functioning. Doctors were called, but when medical teams examined the students, they found nothing, no disease, no infection, No poison, no neurological damage. Physically, the girls were perfectly healthy, and yet they could not stop laughing. The school administration made a desperate decision. They closed the school. 159 students were sent back to their homes. It seemed like the safest option, but it was actually the worst possible decision, because the laughter traveled with them. Within weeks, nearby villages began experiencing the same terrifying phenomenon. Children began laughing uncontrollably. Entire classrooms erupted into hysterical laughter. People collapsed from exhaustion. Villagers watched in horror as their children laughed uncontrollably for hours, sometimes days. Imagine sitting in your home at night. Your child is laughing in the next room. Not happy laughter, not playful laughter, but something desperate, something forced, something terrifying, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Soon the epidemic spread to other schools. One school shut down, then another, then another. Panic began spreading across the region. Some believed the village was cursed. Others believed evil spirits had invaded the community. Traditional healers performed rituals, but nothing worked. Doctors were confused. Government officials were alarmed because this epidemic behaved like a contagious disease. But there was no virus, no bacteria, no chemical exposure, nothing. The laughter wasn't the only symptom. Victims experienced strange physical reactions: sudden crying, extreme restlessness, fainting spells, breathing difficulties, rashes, panic attacks. Some people became extremely agitated. Others appeared emotionally exhausted. The episodes could last minutes, hours, or even weeks. And the most disturbing part, it mostly affected children, especially students. Adults were rarely infected. Scientists began to suspect that something deeper was happening, something psychological. But the scale of the event was terrifying. By the end of the outbreak, more than 1,000 people had been affected. 14 schools had been closed. Entire communities were paralyzed by fear. And still, no one knew the cause. Eventually, researchers proposed a disturbing explanation: mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. This phenomenon occurs when psychological stress spreads through a group of people. One person shows symptoms, then others begin experiencing the same symptoms, not because of infection, but because the human mind is incredibly powerful, especially in environments of stress. And remember, Tanganyika had just gained independence from colonial rule in 1961. The country was going through massive social change. For students, this meant new pressures, new expectations, strict education systems designed to produce the leaders of a new nation. Psychologists believe the laughter may have been an unconscious release of overwhelming emotional stress, a physical manifestation of a collective anxiety that had no other way to escape. But even that explanation leaves many questions unanswered, because mass hysteria usually fades quickly. This outbreak lasted over a year. Schools kept closing, communities kept panicking, and the laughter kept spreading. By 1964, the epidemic began disappearing, just as mysteriously as it had appeared. No cure, no medication, no official explanation. The laughter simply stopped. Schools reopened. Villages returned to normal life. But those who lived through the event never forgot it. because they had witnessed something deeply unsettling, something that showed just how fragile the human mind can be. Imagine losing control of your own emotions. Imagine laughing uncontrollably for hours, even when you're exhausted, even when you're scared, even when you desperately want to stop, and realizing that your own brain has turned against you. Even today, scientists still debate what truly happened in Tanganyika. Was it truly mass hysteria? A psychological chain reaction caused by stress? Or was something else involved? Something science still cannot fully explain? Because the human brain remains one of the greatest mysteries in the universe. And sometimes the most terrifying epidemics aren't biological. They're psychological. They spread through fear, through stress, through the invisible connections between human minds. And if something like this happened once, who's to say it couldn't happen again in another school, another city, another country? So the next time you hear someone laughing uncontrollably, just make sure it's actually a joke, because sometimes laughter isn't joy. Sometimes it's the beginning of something much darker. If you enjoyed this terrifying true story, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who loves disturbing mysteries, and subscribe to the channel for more dark stories that prove reality can sometimes be stranger and scarier than fiction, because the world is full of unexplained events, and some of them are still waiting to happen again. Thanks for watching.